It's the Church Solutions Podcast, and my name is Phil Thompson.
I'm Steve Lacy.
Steve Lacy, this is, according to Apple, episode number 495.
I am. All right.
Yeah. We're getting close to 500. Can we get 500 by the end of this year? Do you think we can do that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Once a week, right?
Well, yeah, but, holidays are coming up, and you're traveling all over the place, and you're going somewhere again, aren't you? You've gone somewhere for a while. Now you're going to play frisbee or something, right?
That is correct. I'm going to watch the National Tournament of Ultimate Frisbee.
All right. Where is that at?
It is in San Diego, your hometown.
That's right. It's not really my hometown. My hometown's Youngstown, Ohio, but it's my second home. San Diego's my second home.
Yes.
Mission Beach, Ocean Beach.
Yeah. We're going to be, I'm not sure where we are, but they always have them in the same place.
Yeah.
There's a polo field adjacent to it. So.
All right.
Good
deal. Well, have fun. That'll be great. It's just weather's very good there, as it always is for the most part. So, all right. Well, we're going to talk today about something that may surprise some people. Put my glasses on so I can kind of keep an eye on what I'm doing here. But we're going to talk about there seems to be a generational reversal in church attendance, which is actually on the positive side.
Yeah. Good news, huh?
Yeah. And we're going to talk a little bit about Gen Z.
Yeah, it comes from the least likely culprits. So,
and who might that be? Who's the least likely corporate? Pew Research? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, Gen Z just going the other direction?
Young men.
Oh, I thought you were referring to the stats. Yeah. So Gen Z, I had to look this up because I get confused. My son is Gen Z, but what is that? What's the age group on that? So the age group, my understanding is from 1997. If they were born between 1997 and 2012, they would be considered Gen Z.
Yeah. Who's in charge of that? Do we know?
I don't know. I don't know.
Who says, okay, we're going to cut them off right here and start this other group of people?
We don't know. But hey, we'll take it at face value. So over the years, there's been a long-term Christian decline, I think, when it comes to that. So there's been a decline in attendance, and now there's a new and surprising trend. And this comes from Barna Group and our buddies at Gloo, GLOO, which we didn't go to this year. We didn't go to the Gloo thing. How come?
It was a big event, much bigger than it's been in the past. So probably
we didn't go to it. Why not?
I don't know. We didn't have a earth-shattering project, so.
All right. So now, according to these stats from Barna and Gloo, Gen Z and millennials, again, I had to look this up, are born between 1981 and 1996. So Gen Z and millennials are now the most frequent churchgoers among all generations.
Yeah, it even exceeds the boomers or the elders, which we would be in that class, I would think.
Yes, we would be. Yeah. Yep, I'm in that thing.
So, which is really kind of weird because you go to a lot of churches and you see a lot of gray, and that's kind of been the traditional look. But
the gray,
so that makes this thing. It makes these stats kind of eye opening.
Yeah. By the way, don't I look kind of like an Assembly of God pastor right now? What do you think?
I couldn't tell you. You're the one who. You're the one who can tell what's going on.
I don't know. I just got out of the shower. I was working out, and I just got out of the shower, so my hair is a little bit different looking. But anyhow, all right. So we don't want to upset any Assembly of God pastors now. So let's talk a little bit about this. All right. So give us some information on this, Mr. Steve Lacy. You love stats, so this is your wheelhouse.
Oh, it is. I just like facts and figures and truth and that sort of thing. So yes,
you like truth. You like truth. I'm glad you like truth.
Yes, I like, rather than speculation and whatever, I kind of get off on
Yeah.
this is and there's a lot of good stats here. So this is a reversal. So um, Gen Z has this is kind of interesting too, because in general, if you were to go to a pastor and say, how often does everybody come to church? You must have people that are there every week and multiple times a week as well. And actually, that was probably my family for a long time, and you just thought everyone else was doing that. And just so the average, attendance like per month would have been, 4.5 or 5.0 because they came on a Wednesday night and they did this, or shoot, we were up at 10 or 8 and 10 at certain times with just stuff going on. But anyway, the average, the highest frequency of church attendance is 1.9 weekends per month. And that belongs to the Gen Z average.
So almost 2 weekends per month.
Almost 2. They almost come twice a month.
They almost got it.
That's the highest frequency.
They came this close. 1.9. Couldn't get the 2.
Yes. So, and then I look at myself, just over the summer and stuff. Like I said, I've been out of town. I'm going out of town again. And I kind of look back and I'm like, wow, I'm fitting into that mold. I think it's been 3 weeks since I was at church.
Ooh.
Because I've been out of town.
Yeah.
And running around and doing other stuff. So, yeah.
Well, hey, as I'll one up you on that one. I finally retired from being on staff. I was full-time ministry and also bivocational ministry, and working with you since 2008 or 9 or whatever. I was bivocational. I was still on staff at a church and doing this. And when I say doing this, I mean streaming church.tv and the other products that we have, but as well as these podcasts. But anyhow, I finally resigned at the end of 2020 from the church I was executive pastor at, and I have not been back since.
Well, you're bringing down the average. So let's walk through some of the, you would think, and this is why this whole thing's a reversal, right? You would think that this wouldn't be this way. So top of the heap, most attenders, highest group of people, Gen Z. That's those are the ones that are 1.9. Behind them, close second place, is millennials, which would be all of my kids. Yeah. So my kids' age. So those we talked about who those guys are, and then
1.8.
So they're
they just missed it. 1.8.
1.8 weekends a month.
Yeah.
And then older generations, boomers and elders, are now 1.4 times a month.
Oh.
So, wow. Which is dropped significantly from the 2000s. One of the problems we have, though, with the older generations is they are dying off, so they can't go to church. I was
going to ask, why is that? Yeah, I guess they're dead, so they can't come now.
Yes, could be. I don't know. So, so here's this is all pretty recent, within the past, 5 years or so.
Right.
So the long-term trend is Gen Z millennials attendance frequencies nearly doubled since the rate that we saw in the 2000s. Yeah. Do we know why all this is happening?
We can get to that in a little bit, but before I say why, or before I disclose why some people think this is happening, you mentioned about the boomers are dying off, or whatever, or the older generation is dying off. That's why they're not coming to church so much. I've told this story before. There was a really very popular church here in Tucson, First Baptist Church, down close to downtown, 5th Avenue and 5th Street or somewhere down there. And the building's still there. And they were really very popular. And there was some other churches that kind of were birthed out of that church. And they came to us at the radio station, Doug Martin, my general manager, and they said, we need some help here. We've got about 20 people now. This was a booming church that had gone down to about 20, 25 people. All of them, as you mentioned earlier, had gray hair or white hair or no hair. They had over $1 million in the bank.
And a paid off building, right?
paid off building, over $1 million in the bank. And they were like, we're dying here, you know. They weren't reaching new people. They weren't reaching the younger generation. And the pastor they had was there for like over 40 years at one point before he died. And so we're bringing this stuff up. People are going like, "Why are you talking about all these stats for? Any nerdy guys here?" Well, we're talking about this stuff because we always have to be thinking about the future, as far as the church health and how we can continue to reach people and the legacy and all that stuff. So, when we see these numbers going up with Gen Z and what was the other one? Gen Z, and is it Gen X? Or the Millennials?
Millennials, yeah.
Millennials,
so,
yeah.
Yeah.
This is a good thing.
Yeah. And
But that doesn't mean every church is growing. So anyhow, I digress. We'll get to that.
I think, I'm of the opinion, I've been in church leadership, but not on a paid staff kind of position as well, or, doing that. But I do see parallels between the church and my experience in the church and running a business, which is also a ministry. Our business is a ministry serving churches. Mm-hmm. So you've got to pay attention to what works, what attracts what people, be sensitive to that sort of thing. I think, even as a church, you're reaching people and saving souls, but you got to do it intelligently. So, your group that came to you at the Christian radio station was looking for some help. That was a wise move, right? They could have just buried their head and said, we're happy with these 20 people. We got lots of money. Let's just ride this thing out, Yeah. But
well,
seeking some advice.
And I can't remember now what all happened, but eventually another church or another group of people came over and started basically a new church in that facility. And so the building is still there, and they've actually remodeled the building, did a lot of work on it. But, so I don't remember all the details after that.
Yeah. But, and that happens. There's church mergers that happen, and there's good reasons for those sort of things. So anyway, back to our Nerdville. So the other key stat, which is also surprising to me, is that men are outpacing women in weekly attendance. So the men are getting back into, wanting to attend the church. So the men weekly attendance is, they said, 46% compared to 44% of the women, which is also another really good, because that's kind of, what's the word? But it's not what you would expect, right?
It is. And I was taught, as far as church growth, and I'm sure there's people listening to this podcast that are rolling their eyes, but I was taught that if you want to reach the family, you've got to reach the women, because the women, if you can get the women coming to the church, the wives, then they're going to bring the kids, and they're going to drag the husband along, and then you can, once you get him in the door, and you can ambush him or whatever.
Well, I'd heard just the opposite with regard to conversion rates. They said
go ahead. Tell me more.
If you can get the dad to become a Christian, then the majority of the family follows.
Well, and so that's the whole thing about this, kind of sneaky. But if you can get the wife to come and the kids to come and the guy comes, then you work on him, with various programs or various teachings or whatever. And then, if he gets converted, then you're good. You're gold. So
I've heard that. So I know at our church we really focused on the men,
right?
And we kind of tried to focus on the younger men, just so that there was some life and future for the church. Sure. So this is good news for us. I was looking around our church and seeing some of these guys. They're not consistent with the stats that I'm seeing here, but we're starting to see it in real life.
Well, I think, and I worked with your senior pastor for years, twice. And, I applaud that he's getting some younger people involved. So I think that's a good thing. And I think that, I mean, the old saying, again, I'll roll these out to you, things that I was taught, you are who you attract, so, or you attract who you are.
Yeah,
I
you
don't know. Did I
attract who
get
you
that
are.
backwards?
That's
Yeah. You
yeah. I
attract who
think
you
it's
are. You
yes.
are who you attract. No, you attract who you are. And so, if you have, and again, none of this stuff is totally foolproof. I mean, I'm sure there's arguments about that. I remember during the Jesus movement where I became a Christian in the mid '70s. The guy we had as our senior pastor was not at all like us. He was a guy out of Canada and very studious and just had that kind of that almost that Canadian accent. But he had a message that really struck young people. It was the love message. But I digress. His name was Dr. Leonard Evans. And if there's anybody out there listening to this podcast and has ever heard of Dr. Leonard Evans, he was out of Niles, Ohio, but he was also taught out at Melodyland School of Theology out in Anaheim, California, which I went to several times and never committed to. But anyhow, I'm getting off track. So yeah, you've got to put things in place to at least. It seems that way. You've got to have some people in place that other people can connect with and relate to and make friends with. At least that's always been my theory. And I tried to do that even when I was a senior pastor.
Yeah. So
anyhow.
I think this just kind of points to a cultural movement. I think I was really impressed, surprised at the Charlie Kirk funeral. There's just the level of outspokenness from people has kind of gone up, and that kind of gets into this. To talk about while fewer people identify as Christians, those that do are showing up more often. So there's they're attending where they may not claim the identity or not. So anyway, so why do we ready to move into why the resurgence?
Yeah, we can talk a little bit about that. I don't know if anybody really knows, but there are some thoughts on this.
And you have some notes. Where did these notes come from?
They come from Pew Research Survey Center of American Life and Glue. So they're a hodgepodge here of things. But post-pandemic isolation is one theory. The COVID-19 isolation and the social unrest have amplified a search for maybe a more of a belonging, more of a purpose. People are looking for that now. So that's part of maybe why. Also, the need for stability. Young adults, especially men, you mentioned men, are reportedly seeking some structure and some clear purpose. And that is offered by many churches out there, by organized religion. Sometimes it's an uncertain world out there. I mean, I don't have to tell you and people listening to this podcast, it's an uncertain world. You're not sure what's going on. My son, who is a pastor's kid, right, has not been going to church, but recently he's looking into going to church. He's, of course, married now, and they're probably going to have a family. So, and he's 20, he'll be 27 next month in November.
All right.
Yeah. So
I think
go ahead.
Yeah, I think that entering that generation of moving from high school and college and getting a job and the serious stuff of life, starting a family, all that sort of thing, kind of leads to church fits naturally into that.
Certainly found aspect. That as a pastor, I found that to be true. There's the other idea out there that this there's a recognition by some people that this whole thing about the individual spirituality may not really provide that desired sense of community. So people are looking for community. I'll tell you right now, the reason I'm not going to church anywhere was, I mentioned earlier, after I retired, it's like, for the first time in over 4 decades, I didn't have to worry about having to be somewhere Sunday morning or run something or make sure something was going to go off as it should. And so I've really enjoyed my Sunday mornings. And sometimes I work with streamingchurch.tv if we need, Mike's not around or whatever. But I do miss the community that I had with the people I was going to church with. I miss that. I miss some of those relationships. And, I see them on Facebook. We might get together with one or two couples once in a while. But I do miss that. And I think that there's a real desire for community. And that's one of the things that the local church can provide is some community and a sense of security, so to speak. So,
yeah. So
that's part of it. So anyhow.
So you put together a couple of things here. We had all these notes about kind of the trend and where things are going and some of the stats. And then you put something else together that was talking about what these guys, if these guys are the most attended and most interested, how should I change or set up my services to be most appealing to them, so that these guys that are looking for a church are going to end up at my church. So one of the things you talk about, this is the most digitally native generation in history. These guys,
it is. Yeah.
Yes. There was days before the internet, they don't understand. So,
Isn't that wild? That's pretty wild, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like,
so they've grown
you didn't
up
have
with
a
the
phone.
internet.
How did you get around? I just did a cross country trip with a bunch of guys. They're like, if you didn't have a phone, how could you get anywhere? So
yeah,
there was a thing called a map. Yes. So
it's a piece of paper and you have to unfold it and you get lost sometimes. And
so anyway, these guys don't understand that.
Yeah.
And they're 70% of them say they've checked out the church online before they go to a church. So you want to have an appealing website presence that's going to appeal to them, and their standards are going to be really high because they're digitally native people.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and by the way, back to the little notion you were talking about, traveling around without the internet. I mean, my son, he's a painter by trade. He's doing it for years and years now. And so if he's going to a house, somewhere that he has to paint, how does he get there? Well, he didn't use the map. He uses his phone, right? And I talk to him at times like, what if you don't have your phone? How are you going to get there? Do you know how to read a map? It's just crazy. All right, so I digress. But so Gen Z is the most digital native generation. 70% say they look at. I feel like that there's probably more than 70% check out the church online before attending. And I, we've beat this drum for a long time.
Yeah.
You don't have to have the, can I say the word sexiest website? You don't have to have the greatest looking website in the world. I don't think you do, but it's got to be up to date.
Yeah. And I think there's a level of authenticity that attracts people. So people recognize stock photography and go, I don't know what this is really going to be like, and they'll recognize real photography. Yeah. So that's good. Yeah. They expect their spiritual experience to travel with them.
What does it mean?
They go around. Well, that means that, for example, when you leave town and you're not able to attend the service, I'm still going through daily devotions every day based on the service. And so I know I can go to my small group and not watch the actual service and be able to, teach or lead the group on some of the key tenets of the service because it's part of my day every day. So, so they expect it to be, they're digital and that it's going to travel with them, that they don't have to be back at the church.
Yeah. So shameless plug for dailydive365.com.
Yes, that is a good way to stay connected. Yes. Yeah. And stay up with the message, even if you do go to church or if you don't go to church. So like I said, I've been out of town for 2 or 3 weeks. 3 weeks ago, I was actually serving, but all right. They want to take their community everywhere. They want their small groups. They want prayer. They want service opportunities online. So if I'm, traveling, I can be a web host. I can do whatever I need to and serve the church online. So, there's just
the high expectations when it comes to church tech. for most people, most of them, expectations. They have expectations. They as you just mentioned, the website should look good. It should be up to date. And even now with AI, there's AI images popping out there, and they don't really want AI images. But they want, if you're going to do streaming video, they want the streaming video to be good, and they want to be able to give online when they want to give.
And here's kind of a summary statement that I resonated with. It says, Gen Z doesn't see online as second best. They're typically happy. Actually, I've seen this all over. So they don't see that as the second best and not as good. And they expect the church in their pocket. So this kind of ties into as they travel or go about their day, they want to see, be authentic. I talked about that, interactive and accessible anywhere. So yeah. So some key tenets for your church. So
yeah, something to be thinking about. And some of this stuff we've been pushing for a long time, even before we heard of these stats, but I think that if you can do these things, you have a better chance of catching the eye of a Gen Z person, because as we just read, there's I don't know how big a movement this is, but there's definitely an interest in going back to church. There's an interest in community. There's an interest in spiritual things that have some organization to them. And I think that if you as a church leader can get on top of some of that stuff, we're not talking about perfection. We're just talking about, making it so that it's, people that go to your website aren't reading a foreign language. And what I mean by that is, talking about stuff that they can't understand or relate to, using Christianese and those kind of things. So I think if you're, like you just said, if you're honest, plain spoken and just offering people something that they can relate to, that they can connect to, then you have a much better chance of moving forward with this next generation.
Yeah. And they've all got friends. So they've got family, they've got friends. So yeah.
They do.
But they need to discover you.
And it's interesting, my wife, and there's a gal, so my daughter-in-law's, one of her best friends, for some reason is connected to my wife. And she is, my wife's not 27, but this gal's 27. And she just loves Mary Kay. She loves my wife. And she's not the only one. My wife has a real gift with younger women. But, again, she falls into this category. She's basically Gen Z. And all of a sudden, she's talking to my wife about spiritual things. My wife didn't even bring it up, and we're not even going to church, And so there is something going on out there. So I guess as we wrap this podcast up today, I just want to encourage everybody to, especially those involved in volunteer work and leadership, just be open, keep your ears open, keep your eyes open, because there are people out there of the younger generation that are looking, they are thinking about some things. So there may be some opportunities for you in your local church to reach these people.
All right. Sounds good. We got the message out.
Good enough. All right. Good deal. I hope you enjoy your frisbee tournament that you're going to be in. You're not in it. You're going to watch it.
Talking about Gen Z, I am definitely not playing. I am nowhere near the level of these guys. So it'll be fun. It's a lot of fun to watch. And speaking about Gen Zers, I'm going to be with a house full of Gen Zers for 4 days. So
see, I like that. I like being around younger people.
Oh, I do too.
I think it keeps you young. It keeps you,
I'm usually the first one to bed, but
I am too. Yeah. So,
but yeah, it is. It's good. I enjoy interacting with them, and they're all great with me too. So
yeah, they accept you. All right, so they let you.
They won't let me play, but yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't be that. Look, we'll wrap this up, but there's probably people out there listening or watching this going, I don't agree with any of this. We'd love to get your feedback. You can always reach us at streamingchurch.tv. That's one of our products, or dailydive365.com. You just go there and you can chat with us. And, if you're going to streamingchurch.tv, check out our resources. We've done webinars and other podcasts with Church Solutions Podcast here. It's all there under resources. So check out streamingchurch.tv. And as always, if we can help you or your church in any way, hit us up. We'll do whatever we can to help you. So we appreciate people listening to or watching this podcast.
All right. Sounds good.
Yeah. And subscribe to it if you haven't as already. Wherever you get your podcast, subscribe to it. The Church Solutions Podcast, hosted by Steve Lacy and Phil Thompson. All right. We're done here. Thank you, Steve.
All right. Good to be here.
And again, thank you, folks, for spending some time with us. We sure appreciate you. We hope that you take care of yourself and each other. And we'll catch you again on another episode of the Church Solutions Podcast.